Hello, welcome to Leap Taken. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And today is a little catch up video. And also, I want to have a controversial conversation about if you can honestly be lacking in monetary funds and call yourself a successful witch or a good witch or even a witch. But first, let me give the update. So I haven't made any YouTube videos in a couple weeks now. It hasn't been that many, but the last one I did was a Halloween decor haul. And as you can tell behind me, if I was sitting in this chair during the haul and I said I wanted to get something for my background that kind of stood up, something, that gave me like a ledge or something to put my decorations on, I will be doing a tour, a house tour, or my Halloween decor tour soon. But I realize not everybody's into celebrating Halloween in the middle or late August. So for me, this is all in my house. I have not done the outside yet because, again, I know I don't want to look like a weirdo. I don't care so much what people think, but at the same time, it's a community, there's kids around, and I don't want to just throw people off. It is still summer. But August 31st, September 1st, well, that's another story. But anyway, so I've basically been just focusing on doing the things that I find are joy-filled, working with my coven, really fully immersing myself in rituals and things like that. Not a lot of anything else, and I'm okay with that. Work and, fostering, working on relationships that I already have, of course. I needed that break to do it. I heard another YouTuber that I follow, and it's more AuthorTube side, and she talks about, recently, she talked about going into like a hermit phase, like the tarot card hermit. And I think that's what I needed in a way, where you just kind of need to break away. And anyway, moving on. So I wanted to have a little conversation about brokenness, about being broke and being a witch. So I have been broke, and I was a practicing witch, and it wasn't a good time. So I'm speaking from experience. It wasn't just that one bad summer, that one bad year, or, that one experience. It was more like this financially for a long time. And I've talked about this in a series of videos before about how to manifest a lifestyle. Honestly, the things that I've put into practice and that I've had to go back to the drawing board and do again and tweak in between. Because of those experiences that I've had, I feel like I've, dare I say, reached sort of master level with this sort of stuff. And I realize it doesn't work for everyone, but for those I've had an opportunity to mentor and work with, or just people who watch that series and have followed my videos, they've told me that a lot of these things have worked out for them. So what am I talking about? Hear me out. So I was in a situation where there just was never enough to take care of everything in 1 month. So every month you came in behind budget wise, like just all your bills, house, car, everything. That was just a living, breathing situation that just persisted. I did finally break that, but actually that was the good thing. that was when things were technically better. Where it wasn't so great is there were several months where I was in a position, my family and I, not by myself, where we had to go stay with somebody because the housing market, it was just the whole economy, everything. Y'all remember like 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009, or we'll say like 07 to 2010. A lot of people lost their jobs. If you're old enough to remember, that was a tough time depending on the industry you were in. But if you were like in an industry where your work was based on contract work, most companies, that's the first thing they cut, all contractors. So you could have been doing very well, making good money, but it's not your one company. Almost everybody went lean, and it was just a struggle to maintain at that point. So I remember we reached a point where it was like, oh shoot, we're out. Like, the money's gone. They just ended the assignment. we've been living off of what money we've had after making great good money. So then it's like, okay, so that's why I said it was kind of like this. And then having to go stay with like family, like that was humbling. And I hate that word, but it was humbling, which is why I hate that word. I didn't like how that made me feel at all. I did not practice one magic spell. I didn't do any magic. I had never felt so disconnected during those months. It was months during that time. And I just kept feeling like a fraud, like to myself, because I wasn't walking around telling people I was a witch, and I did not have this YouTube channel. I wasn't doing the blog or anything. This is way before then. And I felt like a poser, like I'm not really a witch. And I remember at the time we lived near an ocean, so I would lay my burdens there. That was the only altar that I would lay it at. And I would just go out there, and I would just like, it was humbling in a way, going to the beach, standing on the beach, looking out into the vastness of the sea, because it made me think about my place in the world. Well, I would start my place in society, my place in general, where I'm at, around the people I love. And then I would broaden it out into overall society, and then in the world, and then in the universe. And it was just like, I would just think broader and broader, to the point that I realized I was like, my problems, my very existence in the grand scheme of things is like barely even a speck of sand. And for some people, that's like really like an existential crisis moment, and it might freak you out thinking you're so small and nothing. And these are not derogatory terms, because once I can see that I'm just another little speck in this vastness of time, space, everything, it didn't diminish me. It didn't make me feel like, oh, so it doesn't matter, or like it's a suicide or situation or something like that. That's not where I'm going. Because once I thought like that, and I took myself so far out broad like that, I was able to then come back in, constrict it down to, so that means my problems are just as small. And it doesn't really matter in the end. And this was more getting into more the mental alchemy, a little bit of the esoterica. I didn't realize to what end at that point, but stay with me. So when you are broke, when you are down and out, you might not be in a position to even work any candle, like pull a candle, gather some herbs, pay somebody for services. 100% can't do that. It's a different level. I've been there. So I know what that's like, where there's no money to buy something to make something happen. So it's more all up here and in here. And this is hard when you are, mind, heart, and getting into the fields of propelling and pushing and believing your situation. The best thing that I could have done in that situation is realize that, one, deep down, I knew this could not last. This was not my story. And this was not it. Like, our earning potential was too high. Like, this is a temporary situation. This is what I was saying. This temporary situation, it just has to be. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, we used to big houses, and we used to live different. I'll just say that. We used to, live different. That's all I'm gonna say. This can't be my life. Like, come on, this is not my life. And, that was helpful. That was me, in a very rudimentary way, speaking over my situation, and not fully succumbing to the events happening around me. Not denying my emotions, because I felt very distraught, sad, and lost. I didn't start practicing witchcraft again until we were settled in our new spot. We ended up moving to a different state. And we still weren't back where we were before. Actually, it was, we made enough to live, but it was like still like a huge pay cut. But, you gotta, keep it moving. You got a family, we got to do what we had to do. That was a really tough time to practice magic. And then when I started, it was kind of like not begrudgingly, but like tiptoeing around it. Like, and all of a sudden I was more scary about it. I don't know where that came from, but it's like I got more anxiety about the messages I got on tarot cards. I got more anxiety around, like, as I was pulling the cards, I had anxiety. Like, what if I pull a tower? I don't want to go back to my life being ruined, that sort of thing. Or, I don't want to go back to not having any money and not being able to, like, legit have money. Like, it was hard. Like, we were on a very minimal amount of unemployment, which, if you are familiar with certain states that don't have state income tax, like Florida, it doesn't matter that you made hundreds of thousands or 100,000, or shoot, even if you made 80,000 a year, they still pay you no more. I think at the time it was like $500 or something every 2 weeks. I forgot what it was. I think it came up to about $1,000 a month, or just over 1,000. Like, that was the most you could get. Crazy times. The only thing that did help during that time was that they were doing so many extensions because of the time, what was happening in the rest of the country, with so many people losing everything. I mean, the impacts of this was not just us. I've had friends, they suffered loss as well. People who, they were the main breadwinners, not bringing in, a lot of people were just living off of savings and then credit cards. Except, we tapped out earlier, sadly. But anyway, yeah, so when I started practicing magic again, it was still through a very scared witch lens. So that took some time to work through. That's why I can speak a lot about fear and overcoming it, because I had some weird gun-shy approach about even casting spells for money and things like that. But I'll just say this overall about these experiences. It's challenging, but you got to get your head in the game. You have to get your mind right. That's the answer. Because when you are really broke like that, first of all, I was always a witch the whole time. Let's just be clear. The monetary things of the world did not, and lack of them, like housing and money most of the time, because that money that we got went to mostly food. Anyway, but yeah, that doesn't make you a witch. And I wanted to make this video because I've talked about this before, but I really just kind of want to bring it home. It's very discouraging when you are watching people in social media who practice magic, whether they're hoodoo practitioners or the light and love witches or whatever, and everything else in between. And they are showing you how their, businesses are selling, and they're saying that's because it's their magic and you buy into it and blah, blah, blah. And you're looking at them and people maybe who are next to them, and they seem to be very, at least through, the camera, they look successful, and you see their jewelry and, you see, their lifestyle. It looks like, well, shoot, this magic is working for them. I want some of what they got, right? That, at least I know that's how I look at that. So I'll be honest, I see things that way as well. Where it gets a little tricky though is you scraped up the money and you did purchase the product that they were selling, but you're not seeing gains like that. And you really believe that you deserve these good things, but it's still not coming together for you. Or at least it doesn't appear so. It can be really tough. And this is one of the situations, dare I say this is bigger than some candle spells. This is bigger than some herbal spells. Those things are wonderful. It can lend, but if you are not right mentally and emotionally, honestly, it's not going to work. It's not, or it's not going to work in a substantial way. Ask me how I know. It's not going to work in a substantial way. This is when the mental alchemy, the level of this is like the test, the moment where you are really putting yourself through it, because you have got to do something that can be very difficult. You have to think bigger than your current situation. Now, I know some of us say, oh, well, that's easy. I can imagine. You got to think it and you got to believe it with every fiber of your being. The best thing I could have done for myself when I was going through that situation was saying, this is not our life. This is not our life. Like, we are, yes, I was cocky with it even. And I really believe this, by the way. This wasn't just something I was saying as an affirmation to try to get myself out of it. No, I truly believed it. Like, this is not my effing life. This is not me, even though it was me. This is not me, this is not me. And I had kids. Come on, we're a whole family. And, this is not us. Oh my God, look at us. Look what we've been reduced to. This is not really us. We don't live like this, you know? And this is not something I walked around telling other people, but this is something I truly believed. And because it wasn't me to be that financially down, it was a struggle even to like afford little luxuries during those few months that we were going through that experience. And it was scary because there was no end immediately in sight because the world was still worlding, the things were still happening. And we didn't know when it was going to let up, but eventually it did. And we got an opportunity, and it was a huge pay cut, but it was a chance to get back on that come up. And I'm going to tell you another thing where I kind of back up my talk. So I was, just to recap, I didn't practice anything this whole experience for months. I would go to the beach and I would meditate, sometimes cry, quiet cry. I didn't want to attract attention. Quiet cry quite a few times. It settled my soul, thinking the way I thought about the vastness of that ocean and just the vastness of the universe and my place in it. And it made me just keep thinking, this is so insignificant. And just your timeline. This is a small part. There's so much story that has occurred and more to tell. Don't get like that kept me from getting swept up in my at the time current situation. So we get back on, so to speak, but with a pay cut. Not living quite like before, but we could be in our own spot again. And we moved into a nice little spot at the time. And it was good. It was a good family neighborhood. And I just felt like at that point, like I said, I was, I felt like, okay, let me go ahead. And I was ready to get back into magic and practicing and doing things. And I was scary for a while. I had an experience where we could say spirit guides, we could say ancestors, we could say a lot of things, but basically from a divine perspective, certain people were put in my path that I would have never met otherwise. Like, it was just so interesting how it all panned out. And I got a psychic, for free, gave me some psychic medium, gave me some valid information, reaffirming information. And then I was able to participate in a ritual of sorts, sort of impromptu, but those from the other realm came and gave me information, and it all came true to the day. I asked for dates because I'm not, at this point, I'm already kind of gun shy. Y'all just explained that 50 million times, right? So I couldn't walk away from an experience where somebody's giving me some lofty, vague signs and symbol type of situation, message. I'm going to need dates. I'm going to need a timeline. You said this is going to happen when? That's literally how I came into it. And I was not alone. I was with other people, and I didn't care. I was just like loud with it. And not loud, but like I was very direct. And I got an answer. To that day, that's what happened. And the thing about it is, the thing I was so afraid of happened. It happened. So another job, gone. But in its place within days was a job that had paid more, much double, triple more. It was like triple, it was like crazy amount more. And that changed the game at that point. And never looked back at that point. At the time, financially, it just changed. I mean, things went, life. It's not that we never were in that situation where it got that bad, where, we didn't have our own shelter. Newer expenses came in, like 2 kids in college at the same time. Oh, it's a fun time for just, some middle class folk um, who wasn't really living that crazy when I think about it. But like, you're talking, people be wanting like tens of thousands, and this one needs five. This one needs literally 10,000. And then there was like, oh, I need five. Oh, and in between, could you please send us hundreds of dollars? It was a crazy time financially. Credit was just horrible at that time because we risked everything just to make sure. I mean, I'm going to make sure, the kids can eat, that they can have things and, be able to have transportation when they were away at college. But anyway, magic, I tell you, it's a wonderful thing, witchcraft, because how that all came together is still just a whole other story. But anyway, never went back to that situation again, and I'm very grateful for that. And I have no plans on ever being in that situation again, gratefully. But what I can just say about all this is getting through everything required my mind to be totally focused on the fact that there is no way in hell this is going to be my existence going forward. I'm somebody that grew up in poverty. I was surrounded by it. The whole time I was growing up there, at the time, my champion to get my mind and to realize that the world is bigger than this was my mother. I will forever be grateful to her for that. Mind you, that's where she was in the she grew up, she left the projects that was just down the street, to move to the next ones, and, as a young mom. Boy, but she knew because she had seen, she wanted more. My mom's a Capricorn. She don't play that. Come on now. She always wanted some more, She was always that eye on the prize. She was always going, get some money situation or just a lifestyle. She was a woman about her coin. I'll just say that. No, not perfect, but she was about her money. So someone like that being my sort of like that beacon of light. And it's like, oh, so do that. And that helped me. That helped me understand how to do that in tough times. Of course, growing up, I didn't know how bad things were for her. My mom, she went through it. She really pulled up, she was able to get a good government job. That was the best thing that could have happened at the time. My mom went to school. She's got 2 degrees. Like, a lot happened. But the thing about it is, and then she eventually bought her own house. That's where we moved. But the thing about it is, it's helpful having someone like that in your life. If you didn't have anybody like that and you've never went through those tough times growing up as a kid, unfortunately, like I had to, and see the level of poverty, like extreme poverty around you, if you didn't have to see that, good, and you're now going through something, and you have, because if you watch me, you probably are somehow into witchcraft. I can be that person for you. let me just tell you, it literally will not always be like this. Keep your head in the game. This is BS. Like, this is not your life. You're still a witch. You will always be a witch. Witches go through stuff. Witches have things happen to them. Witches sometimes are violated. Witches are sometimes robbed. Witches are sometimes broke. Witches sometimes are broke. They're broke financially. They're broke emotionally. Sometimes you are just bereft. Sometimes you're just empty. You come up empty, energetically speaking. And it's really hard to advocate for yourself at that point. Here are some suggestions. If you have not worked with ancestors, this is a good time. I hear a lot of mixed thoughts on that. Oh, don't come to ancestors and you want something. Go to your ancestors. Go to your ancestors, because they've been through times. They've been through times where famine, widespread. You have ancestors who have experienced that. Go on and tap into that energy. Let them carry some of the weight for you, some of the mental work where you need to connect with the universe. Find a place to lay your burdens. Mine was the ocean. Find your spot. I don't care if you got to sit in a room, if it's the bathroom alone, in a shower. Find your spot. I would tell you, introduce the element of water in that experience. Wherever you go to lay your burdens, make sure there's some water around. It is super cleansing and helpful, purifying, even restorative. It's very helpful. The other tip I would just say is just keep truly having belief and faith that okay, I already said that this is BS, it's not going to be this way, but keep a picture of what it can be. Sometimes it might be the past, if that's all you have, but I caution you not to hold on too much of that. For instance, at some point I realized I couldn't keep holding on to what things were, how we lived before, because I realized it reached a point where I realized things would just never be quite like that. Things are different now. So start to imagine a new future, play with it, your imagination, play with it. It doesn't hurt you. Build your expectations. That's a very difficult thing to do. A lot of people, myself included, especially during those times, it was hard for me to build my expectations because I did not want to be let down, because I felt so let down at that time, going through the thick of it. And I didn't want to believe to be let down again. Actually, that is a recurring theme, honestly, if I'm being totally frank with y'all, where I struggled with that for quite some time. And if I'm not careful, it'll come up even now, where just wild, bodacious dreaming and manifesting on big things, I have to sometimes quiet that part of myself that wants to don't do that. Because if it doesn't come true, if it doesn't happen the way you want, you're going to be really disappointed. But it's free to dream. And learn to manage your disappointments or your letdowns. If it doesn't come together quite as you imagine, it doesn't mean you won't get the things you want. Maybe it's not going to come in order. Maybe it physically can't come into that order that you would like it to be. You want everything all at once, but maybe, you're putting a cart before the horse in how you're manifesting this life once you're out of this other situation that you're in, that's doing a lot of mental work. I don't know if I would tell you that's a good time to work on shadow work when you're going through something like that. When you are broke, housing is instability, because once you introduce housing instability, if you don't have a good support network and you have children, now you're running into a different problem, because somebody's coming to get the wrong person tells on you. You might not be able to keep your kids. It could get really hectic fast. I've seen, again, because of where I grew up, I've seen this actually play out, sadly, on more than one occasion. Not even twice. That's tough. No, the person doesn't have a drug problem. They just got dealt a freaking bad hand at life. Some people, it's just they seem to be a decent person. Why is life just keeps hitting them hard? I have a theory on that, but that's another conversation. Excuse me. But a lot of it's all mental. Sorry, the coughing wouldn't stop. I had to get some water, take a pause. But anyway, if you are in the position that you have access to, ingredients, tools for spell work, awesome. But please understand in that situation, because and not that I can't speak for living in a different time for sure, but specifically living in our society as it's set now in a very capitalistic society. Man, people make you feel like wretched, like dirt, if you don't have your money together, if you are broke, if you are in financial need. You can feel low. You can feel really bad. So that's already taking and kind of beating you up. You're berating yourself. You might not have anybody actually telling you, oh, you're lower than low, but you feel it. And that's a really tough thing to get over. So I cannot express enough. And I just keep saying it over and over again, because I hope the message is just made clear that you gotta get in the mental part of it first. You gotta get your thoughts aligned first. And that's the hardest part. You can do the spell work, you can add that, but honestly, that's why I keep saying it. None of that's really gonna matter as much as getting the emotions together and the mind together and changing your self-talk and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's my discussion. So I know this was like, I came back, I wanted some more light and airy video when I first came back, but this is what y'all gonna get. This is it. Hopefully this reaches those who may need to hear this. I wish I had heard this back then, but that's okay. I'm here now. I've lived through some experiences, and that's the advantage of age. And because in most cases with age comes experiences, and that's a tough thing to duplicate, and kudos and shout outs and blessings and good things to the younger witches coming in. However, I do just think it's something that you need to keep in mind, because I do see that a lot of them have businesses and things they're offering. And listen, I'm not saying that these people's stuff is not legit. Let me be clear. But there is something to be said for having life experiences. And a lot of that is just not going to occur just because you just haven't existed long enough, Yeah, you've had experiences if you went through things, but it's interesting when you live long enough and you have some of the same experiences more than once, with different outcomes, and different ways that you got into these situations where you thought you had the issue licked, or you never saw it coming, or you're stuck in patterns. But it would take time to realize that you're stuck in patterns. You can understand it by listening to someone who has lived experience, and you can learn from that. But it's not gonna. You can learn from it, but it's different from you experiencing learning from it versus you taking that show on the road, packaging it and selling it to somebody else as if you fully understand. You empathize or you sympathize with it. You don't, let me rephrase that. You empathize with the situation. You don't sympathize with it. Sympathy is more like, your husband died, my husband died. I understand. I literally can sympathize with you. Empathize is, I would hate to lose my husband. You just lost your husband. Oh, that must be horrible for you. That's empathy. That's empathizing with someone, if you ever want to know the difference. And we have a lot of people who are currently in witchcraft practicing, which is not my business, but I'm just going to say, who are very much in the empathize, but they're pretending to sympathize. And that's where I'll end this. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Head on over to leaptaken.com. Check out the services that I offer. And thanks again for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.